Hi, with this short video, I'm going to show you how to install Python and all the necessary packages for our class. Python can be installed directly from the Python website, www.python.org. Here you have this download link. However, we're not going to do that because there is a number of different third-party packages that we need to have on top of Python. And if we did that this way, by downloading Python and installing Python first, and then all the other packages, that would be a little more cumbersome and essentially inefficient. And for you guys who just start with Python, it could be a little bit confusing. So instead, we are going to do an all-in-one platform, which is called Anaconda. So you should go to www.anaconda.com. And this is a platform where you have not only Python, but a very good editor called Spider. And you also have a number of third-party packages already being included. So it's essentially very easy to install. So I'm going to go to download. The computer I have has a Windows operating system. So I'm going to select Windows. And I also have 64-bit processor. So I can actually download this particular installer. Please make sure to download the 3.6 version. This is the version that we are going to use in our class. It takes a while, so I'm going to pause the video until the installer downloads. Okay, so we downloaded Anaconda. Now I'm going to go to my downloads folder and simply go through the installer. It's very straightforward, just like any other installer, graphical installer in Windows. So let me show you how to go over it. And the reason for me to show you that is because of some of the settings that I want you to change. All right, so we have to agree. I'm the only one using it anyway, so I select just me. This is the folder, the default folder I'm going to use. And then what I want you to select is this particular checkbox. I know it says not recommended, but I've learned through a number of installations on various computers recently that it actually helps tremendously. Because then Anaconda is going to be your kind of a very first go-to software in terms of Python, and it really makes a lot of other operations easier along the road. So I am going to select that, and I want you to make sure that this is selected. Otherwise, you might have problems with installing other third-party packages that we will in a moment. And just click install, and again, it's gonna take a while, so let's pause for a moment, and I'll be right back. All right, so the installation is completed. Just go over next. I don't want to open any websites. I'm going to uncheck that. And one more thing, Anaconda does not set direct links shortcuts on the desktop, so I am going to do it manually. So I'm typing in the search box Anaconda. But instead of just opening that, I'm going to open file location. And here you have the shortcuts. You just select Anaconda and Spider. Spider is going to be our editor for writing code and checking code and so forth. So just copy and then paste on the desktop. Okay, so that's our core Python installation. The second thing we need for our class is WXPython. WXPython is one of many graphical user interface toolboxes. I don't have a particular reason for this one being selected, except that just that's something I selected a long time ago, and with this new update that has recently been released, I kind of feel like it's mature enough to work with Python 3, so I decided to keep it in my code. So let's go to WXPython now. Okay, so the website is www.wxpython.org. And you can read a little bit about this particular toolkit. We will go over it in detail later in the course. Let's just go to downloads. And before you download anything, read carefully what's written here. So there is a particular Python package index PyPI repository, which keeps a lot of different Python extensions or other packages that have been developed using Python. And many of the additional packages have, of course, their own websites. But if they have information about this PyPI repository, information saying that this particular package is available through that repository, instead of downloading and installing it manually, you can go to PyPI and you can check whether the particular software is there. It's easier for WXPython because it says so, okay, but sometimes you don't really know whether an extension is on this repository, PyPI. So if you don't know, you can just search it. So another thing that we are going to install in a moment is GEO. And then you can just click and search. Okay, you can see that GEO is also here. Why is it important? It is important because if something is posted on this repository, you can download it by using an installer which is called pip or PIP if you spell it. And that means that this installer is going to directly go to this website and look for the package that you want to be installed. So if you're not sure in the future if there is a package that you want to install, a package that is not part of Anaconda, you can go to this website, pypi.python.org, and type the package name in the search box. If it is here, you can use the PIP or pip installer, which I'm going to use right now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do now is we're going to go to command prompt. And if you installed Anaconda with all the same, with the settings that I told you to, you will have no problem installing WXPython. So WXPython says on the website, it says that you just use this particular command, and I can just copy it and then go to my command prompt, paste it. Oops. Oh, come on, did I copy it? Yes, all right. Okay, and just enter. And because I installed it previously, it just takes a moment. When you install it for the first time, it probably is going to take a little bit more time, but you shouldn't have any problems with installation here. We are going to use the same approach to install the last package that we need for our class, which is GEO. So WXPython is our GUI toolkit, graphical user interface we're going to use to display our model when it runs. And then GEO is our geospatial data abstraction library that allows you to seamlessly load spatial data. And that's something we will do in our course as well. We're going to use shapefiles and rasters. And if you're not familiar with that, don't worry, I will explain it briefly when time comes. But for now, I want you to get all your installation ready so that we don't have any problems future in the course. You don't have to come back and redo it. Okay, so as I showed you before, GEO is posted on this website. Let's just search it again. Okay, so that's what we are going to install. And we're going to use the same procedure, except that I want to show you another method that you can do, you can use instead of PIP. Anaconda also comes with its own installer called Conda. So in this case, just to give you an idea, if something goes wrong with PIP, you can always try with Conda, and that's kind of an alternative for PIP. So it's very similar. Just type Conda install GEO, okay, and click. This is going to take quite a lot of time, so I will take a break here. But before I do that, I want you to make sure that you are going to select yes. So there's going to be, right now, there's going to be a proceed question. It tells you about a lot of different packages that come with GEO, but also some of the installed packages that have to be updated. So you click on proceed and then give it a while to install. Okay, so our GEO is also installed. Just a word of caution, there's going to be quite a long gap in time between this particular line displays and the command, the finishing of this installation. So again, don't be alarmed, just give it a time, it will install eventually. So the last step for us is to check if everything works well. And I'm going to do that right now by going to Spider. So let's click on Spider. And it loads pretty slowly, but it eventually will load. Okay, so one tiny comment before we check. You got this update window. That can be resolved in a number of ways. The first one is to go through the PIP procedure, but as you see, they do not recommend that. Instead, you can use the Anaconda navigator to do that. So I'm going to check OK, and then go and open Anaconda navigator. And do the update. So I will just for clarity, I'm going to close Spider, and I don't need that, so I'm going to close that as well. And when you look here, there's actually another command, another window showing you that you can update Anaconda as well. So we will first update Spider, and then we will do, well, actually, let's do the Anaconda Navigator first, because we are already have it already set up. So let's click yes and give it a while it's being updated. And let's launch the navigator again. And so we already updated Anaconda, but as I mentioned before, we want to make an update to Spider. So you can do that by clicking on this settings and clicking update application. If this is not enabled, don't worry, you just wait like maybe an hour or a day. Eventually you will have the chance to update from Anaconda. So I'm going to click update application. Okay, so it's still updating. No, actually it's done. So let's launch Spider now. So you can see that you can launch Spider from the navigator or directly by just using the shortcut. The navigator is sort of like our entry door to all the stuff that comes with Anaconda. For example, you can use directly from Anaconda, you can launch Jupyter Notebook, which is kind of like a interactive document. You can write your code and also write comments to your code and sort of creating a document which has all the stuff that you prepared associated with it being plugged in. We are not going to use Jupyter, even though it's very useful and easy to master. That's because this is an intro level class and I don't want to spend additional time on Python unless it's absolutely necessary. So you can always, when you master Python after this course, you can always go and explore Jupyter. This is definitely something I advise you to do. Now, let's go back to Spider. So this is our programming environment. This is where we are going to open code, execute code, write code, and debug it. We will go over the details in class. For now, I just want to make sure that everything that I installed are actually installed. So go to the command prompt in interactive Python, this right here, and we're going to import those two external packages that I have just installed. So import wx. Okay, nothing happened. There is no complaint from Python, which means that essentially everything went well. If something is not right, you would get a message here that package like that is not recognizable, which means that Anaconda doesn't see it, even though it seems like you installed it. Or simply you have not installed it yet, and then that's going to cause throw an exception and the message that this package does not exist. So WXPython works well, and then now let's import GDAL. And even though GDAL is written in uppercase, that's its official name, the convention in Python for packages is to use lowercase, so make sure that you type in correctly. And everything works well. So that means that you have your Python programming environment set up on your home machine. I just showed it for Windows 10 with a 64-bit processor, but you can do the same thing through for Mac or Linux-based system. Just make sure to install proper Anaconda, and then the PIP or PIP or Conda routines work in the same way. So there's no difference in those two commands after you have your Anaconda installed.